There are certain endings in movies that don't just wrap up the story. They reframe the entire emotional experience of what you just watched. And for me, Sinners has one of those endings. I recently watched it just before it won awards at the Oscars, and something I did not expect happened to me. I enjoyed the movie enough. I was pleasantly surprised it lived up to the hype, and I liked the characters, story, cinematography, everything. Then, just when I thought the movie was over, Sammie was shown older, playing music passionately. I thought, oh cool, he gets a happy ending. But then, it cuts to him sitting at the bar, and the movie is still going. It's then revealed two people were invited in, and we all know it's vampires. Stack and Mary walk through the door, and then they exchange words, things are revealed, and Sammie asks a question. This whole interaction changed the whole movie for me, and it almost made me break down. I have the video evidence to prove it. I really like the movie way more that it has that ending. I don't know why. Even now, it was I don't know why it affected me more. Even now, I don't know why I feel more emotional about it. But I mean, that's the power of movies. But for some reason, that ending, I really like it. Man, what's going on with me right now? Yes, if you care, I record full movie reactions because I believe they aid what I do on this channel as well as my review channel, Off the Couch, and provide moments like this. In that moment, I knew I needed to explore why the movie made me feel this way. It took me by more surprise than I think any movie ever has, and here's why I think that was. When Sammie is visited by Stack in that end credits scene, it is not emotional for the obvious reason. It's not just, oh wow, this character is back. It's not just shock. It's not just mythology. And it's not really functioning as a horror beat, even though on paper it absolutely could have. What makes that moment hit so hard is that it stops being about horror and becomes about grief. It becomes about memory. It becomes about what it means to survive something and then spend the rest of your life carrying the ghost of it. That's why it affected me, because Stack, in that moment, is not just Stack. He becomes something much bigger than a returning character. He becomes the embodiment of an entire lost world. He is a walking reminder of that night, of Sammie's youth, of his family, of the pain that shaped him, of the people and the version of life that were taken from him. And when you look at it that way, the scene becomes devastating because Sammie is not simply seeing someone from his past. He is seeing a living fragment of a world that is gone forever. And that is such a painful human feeling. I think what makes the scene so powerful is that it understands something a lot of great stories understand, but very few can communicate this cleanly. Sometimes the most emotional thing is not death itself. It is survival, because survival sounds like the happy ending. Survival sounds like the victory. But in reality, survival can mean living long enough to watch everything you loved disappear. Living long enough to become a completely different person than the one who experienced the defining event of your life. Living long enough that your memories start to feel more vivid than your present. And that is what this scene taps into. Sammie has lived an entire life. Time has moved forward. History has moved forward. He has had to keep going. He has had to carry on. But then suddenly, here comes Stack, almost like time itself refused to move on, like the past has reached through the wall and sat down in front of him. That's haunting. Not because it's scary in the traditional sense. It's haunting because it is mournful. It is the kind of moment that makes you think about your own life, about the people who belong to an older version of you, about the chapters of your life that are over but never really leave you, about how certain memories stay frozen while you keep aging around them. And I think that's why the scene hit me emotionally instead of just intellectually, because it doesn't feel like a plot twist. It feels like grief walking back through the door. That's what's so brilliant about it. As a filmmaker, and as someone who loves movies that operate on multiple emotional frequencies at once, I really love when a director understands that horror and grief are cousins. They work in different genres, but they often come from the same place. Both are about something unresolved. Both are about the return of something buried. Both are about the past refusing to stay in the past. And this scene uses that beautifully. Stack's return is supernatural, yes, but emotionally, it feels intimate. It feels personal. It feels like memory materialized, like regret materialized, like longing materialized. That's much more powerful to me than if the movie had just used him for one last scare, because the scene is not asking, "Isn't it creepy that he's here?" It's asking, what does it do to a person to come face to face with a part of their life that never got to end properly? That is so much sadder and so much richer. And then there's the passage of time, which I think is maybe the secret weapon of the whole scene. Time is what gives that moment its weight. If this meeting had happened right after the events of the film, it would still matter, but it would not hurt the same way. What makes it land is that Sammie has lived with this history. He has aged, he has endured, he has had to build an identity beyond what happened to him. So when Stack returns, it is not just a reunion between two people. It is a collision between past and present, between who Sammie was and who he became. That destroys me emotionally, because that is such a real experience. Even outside of literal horror, we all have people, places, songs, smells, and memories that can instantly turn us back into an older version of ourselves. We all carry emotional time capsules, and sometimes the most overwhelming feeling in the world is being reminded that a part of you is still living inside a moment that ended years ago. That's why the end-credits scene works. It's not just lore, it's not just style, it's not just a final sting for the audience. It's about the burden of memory. And I think there's also something incredibly sad in the idea that Stack survives as a kind of eternal reminder, while Sammie survives as a human being who had to keep aging, healing, and carrying pain in a mortal way. One life is frozen, the other has to keep moving. One becomes a symbol of the night, the other has to live in the aftermath of it. That contrast is heartbreaking because it gets at a truth that I think the best films understand. Mortality is painful, but it is also what gives life meaning. The fact that life ends is what makes moments matter. The fact that youth fades is what makes it precious. The fact that people leave is what makes love hurt. So when Stack shows up, the sadness is not just that he survived. It's that he survived as a monument to something Sammie could never fully return to. And that, to me, is why the scene is so emotional. It's about more than reunion, more than horror, more than mythology. It's about what it means when memory outlives the moment it belongs to. It's about the pain of seeing a person who is connected to the most formative and tragic chapter of your life after you've already spent years trying to become someone beyond it. And maybe most of all, it's about the fact that some things never really leave us. They just wait, quietly, until one day they walk back into the room. That's why that ending stayed with me. Not because it scared me, but because it hurt. I think we've all had moments in our lives where we felt the most free, a night where everything changed, a time we can never go back to, good or bad. And oftentimes, we carry the weight of that time for the rest of our lives. No matter how good or bad our lives continue to be, it still isn't that night where anything felt possible, while others never leave it, frozen in time, dead and still living, above ground or 6 feet under.